Hello everyone, welcome to the 11th lab of ELD. In today's lab, we are going to perform the 8-point fast Fourier transform using the FFT-IP. And for the data transfers between the PS and PL, we are going to use the AXI DMA. This part is rather similar to the last lab. So uh, we know that the data is initially stored in the DDR memory, and that is going to be accessed by the DMA via the high performance port of the Zinc processing system. So the DMA is going to be connected to the Zinc processing system using the AXI MM2S and AXI S2MM for reading and writing to with the Zinc processing system, and the Zinc processing system is then connected to the DDR. The DMA is going to work as the link between our IP and the processing the PS. So before heading on to the configuration of FFT, let's revise the AXI DMA IP quickly. So this is the AXI DMA IP which we used in the previous lab, and we know that this is the AXI Lite uh, port, which is working as the reception for the configuration info from the general purpose register, general purpose port of the processing system. And since this data is not very huge, we are using the GP port in spite of using the high performance port. Then we have the AXI stream S2MM and AXI stream MM2S ports. The AXI stream MM2S port is the transmitter, or it transmits the stream data to the device. In this lab, it's the FFT IP, and then that data will be worked upon by the FFT IP, and the evaluated output data stream will be received by the XS S2MM port of the DMA. Talking about the rest of the ports, like this is the memory map transaction, and it is going to access the DDR via the HP ports of Zinc processing system. We have talked about this, and these are the clocking ports of the DMA IP. This is the reset port of the DMA IP, and these are the interrupts. Now, before moving to the Vivado, let's see about what kind of data we are going to use for the FFT operation. So this time around, we are going to use the complex data type. So the float complex data type is going to transfer the complex numbers. Now, the complex numbers are going to be transferred uh, by the concept of concatenation. So the float complex data type is going to concatenate the real and imaginary part together, with the upper 32 bits being the imaginary and the lower 32 bits being the real part of the complex number. We can see this, and we will see this while after we have configured the FFT IP in the implementation design. And in this lab, we are going to perform the 8-point FFT, and then we are going to use a test bench on the PS, and we are going to compare the results, the hardware results, which are the output of the FFT IP, and the software results, which is the software code which is performing the 8-point FFT on the same data. So now let's move to Vivado and create the project. So yeah. So project name, I'm going to keep it as FFT demo 1. And we are going to use the Zybo board. So we are creating the block design, and I have named the block design as design_FFT_demo. So we'll start by adding the Zinc processing system. And let us first configure the Zinc processing system. So for the PS and PL configuration, as we have talked about this in the beginning of the video, we are going to need one high performance interface for the DDR memory and DMA connections. And the peripheral IO pins, they are going to remain the same. MIO configuration, no change. Clock configuration, nothing. SMC, no change. For the interrupts, we are going to use the fabric interrupts, and that too will be from the PL to PS, from the DMA to the Zinc processing system, and we are going to use the IRQ F2P. So we can run the block automation, and then the DDR and fixed IO ports will be generated. So once that is done, we are going to add the next IP, which is the DMA. So AXI, direct memory access. Yeah, so let's configure this. So we are not going to use the scatter gather engine because the data which we are going to use is contiguous. So we don't need this. So we have to uncheck this enable scatter gather engine. Now, moving ahead, we have the enable read channel. It's going to be 64-bit, and it's going to be, I'm going to explain why it's 64-bit. And the reason is that we are using, we are using the float complex data type. So it's a concatenated data of individual 32 bits. The first 32 bit is for the imaginary, and the next 32, the lower 32 bits are for the real. So we are actually sending the single data is actually not 32-bit. It's a combination of two 32 bits, which is 64-bit. Then we have to do the same for enable write channel, and memory map data bit, it's going to be 64 only, and this is also 256. Yeah, so this seems to be correct. Now we are going to run the connection automation. Pick them all. Okay. So this will provide, or this will add a processor system reset IP, which will provide a reset signal for all the IP blocks assigned in the design. And an AXI interconnect IP will be added, which will receive the configuration information of DMA from the processor, like its base address, which will be used to access the DMA. All right. And the AXI interconnect then passes the information to DMA through the AXI light port. So now we are going to add the fast Fourier transform IP. And let's configure this. Yeah, so since we are performing the 8-point FFT, the transform length will be 8. And the rest of the settings will be same. We are not going to change the target clock frequency. Now moving to the implementation, the data format is floating point, and the scaling options and rounding modes will be the same like this only. And no change over here. The control signals, we are going to add the A reset and active low, and the output ordering will be of natural order. The output ordering, it means that the output given by this FFT will be of the natural order or the bit reversed order. Like this takes us back to the butterfly diagram, in which we were actually either sending the input in the bit reversed fashion, or there is one more thing which gives us the output in the bit reversed fashion. Since we are going to compare our IP outputs or IP results with the software results. So in the software, we are expecting the natural order output. So similarly, we are going to receive the natural ordered outputs from this FFT IP. Then rest of the things will be similar, and there will be no changes in the retail implementation. So now we can see over here that in the implementation details, the input data is of 64-bit. The input data is of 64 bits, as it can be seen over here. And the upper 32 bits are for the imaginary, and the lower 32 bits are for the real. We're going to press OK. Now, we have to do some manual connections for the FFT and DMA. So this is the access data, and this is going to be this is the port which is going to receive the input data. So DMA is going to send the data via its MM2S port to the S access data of the FFT, and then the output is going to be again sent back to the DMA at the AXI stream S2MM port. The FFT requires some configuration, and for performing FFT, we have to give them explicitly one high signals, so that the FFT IP is going to perform the fast Fourier transform on the input data. So we are going to give constant values. So for the we have two inputs in the S-axis config. The first is the S-axis config T data, which is a 7-bit input. So we are going to give the constant width of 7, and the constant value will be 1. Not 7, sorry, my mistake. I apologize. The constant width is 8, because the S-axis config T data is 7 down to 0, which is 8 bits. And we are going to connect it like this, and we are going to add one more constant for the T valid. It's a single bit, and the constant value is 1. So we are going to add this right over here. There are two more pins which are supposed to be connected. The first is the clock, and we are going to connect this clock over here, and this clock is supposed to be we are going to connect this clock over here, and this was also supposed to be connected. So if it's not connected in your design, just connect it like this. And the A reset is also, we are going to connect the A reset N of the FFT IP to the AXI reset N of the AXI DMA. So now this seems correct. One more thing, if we want to perform the debugging of the data which the FFT IP is giving out, and the data which is being supplied to the FFT IP, so we can see those signals in the ILA. So what we can do is, as we know that ILA is used for debugging purpose, so if I enable a debug on this port, and similarly if I enable one more debug at this port, yeah, so I have two debug ports. And if I run the connection automation right now like this, so we can see that the system ILA will be generated automatically. And let's regenerate the layout for better view. Yeah, so this is the system ILA, and it is connected to those ports, and it's going to capture only those two signals. So now that our block design is complete now, and let's just have a quick look again, so that our design is error free. So we have added the processing system, it's over here, and then we added the AXI DMA. The AXI DMA then called for this AXI Smart Connect, and this AXI interconnect. And then we called the F50 IP, and then we configured the F50 IP. And then we set this explicit constant values to the S-access config of the F50, and then we enable the debugging at these two ports, and the system ILA IP was the system ILA block was generated automatically. So our block design is now complete. So let's just validate our design. So these are some warnings. So we can ignore them. And now let's move to sources and create the HDL wrapper. Once the HDL wrapper is created, we will start generating the bit stream. So now we'll cut to the part of video when the bit stream is generated. So now the bit stream has been generated, and we can see the implemented design. So this is how the implemented design for this lab looks like. So now we will move ahead with the lab and export the hardware, and we'll include the bitstream as well to save it. And now the hardware has been exported. We are going to launch the SDK, and we will discuss the SDK part of this lab in the next video.